Good afternoon, Americans. This is your favorite alien. Here on the afternoon of Thursday, July 28th, 2022. And today's comment is a continuation of Terra Nova. And what I mean about Terra Nova would mean any of your adversaries from the United States. Like I said in my earlier videos, the Americans have never educated your citizens on Terra Nova. How to view, act against your adversaries. You paint Russia in such broad strokes. Oh, they're bad. They're this, they're that. If they painted you in such bad strokes, the Americans will look terrible because you're the adversary to them. Here's the problem. You're as bad as the Russians as they are to you. And yet you admit them here. You got Russians that live as, what you call it, under United States visas. Some are permanent, some are other kinds of visas. The most famous example would probably be Alexander Solzhenitsyn back in the 70s. And some others that you don't like to mention, that you wanted to be here. But then some of them came in and became the Russian mafia and have associations with Putin's federal police force over there, the successor to the KGB. It's like the Japanese here, you got Yakuza that operate in this country. You don't say anything about that, do you? No. But the idea of an adversary country humiliating you is terrible. Today, there was a thing about the two Americans that are being held, Miss Greiner and Paul Whelan. Now, in Miss Greiner's case, she's got convicted of bringing a certain amount of marijuana or medicine, as you call it here, to Russia. Why would she bring it there? She says, "Oh, I made a mistake." How could you make a mistake when you know that Russia is the United States' first or second most feared adversary, depending on how you look at China? And that relations, when she went to Russia, were not very good at all under Putin. They're 10 times worse today than they were when she got arrested because of the Ukraine war. Relations with China because of Taiwan and everything else, and Miss Pelosi are the same way. In school, they never taught you how to view the Russians, not in the way that you paint them with the broad strokes you put them on there. Is Russia bad? Well, that is something that you can't say yes or no because the United States is as bad as Russia. Whether you like it or not, you are. You've interfered in other people's affairs just like Russia has. You violated other people's rights just like Russia has. You invaded other countries just like Russia has. So you see that there's nothing good about the Americans. You're one side of a thing, the good, as you say, and the bad. Because you look at everything binary. Now, Russia is your adversary. And the Russians view Americans as adversaries. And the leadership has taught the Russian citizens, for the most part, to paint the United States as adversaries. And if you come to the United States, try to get as much information about them as you can and report back. Sure, some Russians don't agree with that. Because remember, it's not 100%. But the percentages of Russians that do agree with that is higher than the percentage of the people that value American values. You used to be at around 65% that valued American values back 100 years ago. Today, you're lucky if you reach 20%. The Russians under Putin, on the other hand, at one time were low, maybe 50%, but today they're about 65, 75%. under Putin, and 25% that disagree with his ideas. You know, like the guy Navalny who's in prison. He went back to Russia and he knew what was going to happen. Will he get out of the prison? I doubt it. And if he does, he only has a few years to live because the Russians have made sure that they cut his life short. Now, in the case of Ms. Greiner and Mr. Whelan, the United States has put forward a, according to CNN, transfer between them and a arms dealer that the United States arrested, convicted, and signed for 25 years. Was he illegally detained? Probably. Just like the Americans say that Ms. Greiner and Mr. Whelan are illegally detained and prosecuted in Russia. They are not. Russia is Terra Nova. The United States is Terra Nova to the Russians. And if you don't understand what that means, Americans and the American government has not taught you what that means, then you are in trouble. When you go to those countries, you should take absolutely nothing from here that'll cost you to be arrested. Because you don't need a cause to be arrested. That just is something that solidifies the arrest. Once you land on Russia and you're an American, that's Terra Nova, and they already have convicted you and are looking for a spot to get you and say, oh, he's a notoriety, in the case of Greiner, she was a notoriety person in the United States, which she wasn't. She was a minor player to begin with under the WNBA. But she became a major player. Just like Miss Knox over in Italy was a minor player who became a major hot potato with the Italians and the American government. Did she kill the guy? Well, nobody will find out. Nobody will know. So see, that's the problem. And the situation here is, if I were Putin, I would say, no way. I wouldn't take that deal of one arms dealer going back to Russia. Hey, he humiliated the Russians. He got caught. Why would you want him back? And two American subpar people who should have known better about the Terra Nova and got caught. Ms. Greiner specifically, Mr. Whelan, well, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, really. He knew absolutely nothing about the Russians. He didn't know the system or anything about them. He just walked in there. Greiner the same way. She just walked in there. Why? Because you had international relations and she wanted to be a basketball player and show them. Yeah. You must understand the Russians view sports as secondary. Their leadership, their belief in their system comes first. Something that the Americans don't believe in. Because you don't understand what your system is and you don't know what the hell it is to be an American. The Russians, on the other hand, have a prime directive and a belief system, whether you like it or not, whether it's good or bad, but it's theirs. They're consistent, no matter if they were the Russian czars, the Soviet Union, or Putin. It's still the same system. Different names, different people, different players, different ways of looking at it, still the same. The United States hasn't been the same. 100 years ago it was different, today it's different. Just look at your players. Biden, Trump, Pelosi. None of them understand what the United States is. And you Americans don't understand the word Terra Nova. And they didn't educate you on how to deal with adversaries. They just let you go wherever you want to go. That's not the way you should do their adversaries. You should tell them, no, you can't go there. If you want to go there, you give me a reason why. Then we'll let you go. Those are countries that you don't put the citizens in peril because they're stupid anyway. But you don't need the government to be worrying about that. And now you got the Biden administration that doesn't know what to do. And the Russians under Putin are saying, hey, we won't take this deal. Do you have a better thing in there? To give you an example, Francis Gary Powers was shot down by the Soviet Union in 1960 under cover of the CIA on their U-2 plane. In order to get him back, they did a backroom deal that liberated Mr. Philby from the British to get him back. And Mr. Philby was a far worse guy than Gary Powers. But the Russians wanted him back at all cost. Did Mr. Philby spill his guts to the MI6 and CIA? I don't think so, but he did give them something tangible that they used. But the Russians wanted to make sure that they didn't unload the box of information that he had. So what is the plan for Miss Greiner and Mr. Whelan? Well, if I were Putin, I would say, I want somebody equal leverage to Mr. Philby. That you have either the British or the Americans under MI6 or CIA control. This is your favorite alien saying, you never educated the Americans on Terra Nova, and you should have. Good day.